The history of this synagogue dates from about 1763, when it was finally built. But of course, the Jewish community next to must have existed before that to make it worthwhile they're building a synagogue at all. We say with some confidence that the Jews have been in Exeter since the beginning of the 1700s, which was not that far later than when Oliver Cromwell allowed the Jews back into England in 1656. You will see often associated with almost any Jewish building the Magen David, the Star of David, which, as the name implies, brings back memories of King David himself. It's just a decoration and a characteristic emblem of Judaism. So here we are in Exeter Synagogue, and the first thing you notice probably is the rather ornate gallery running all around the top, and the bima, the desk in the middle where the rabbi or the service leader would take the service from. You will see in front of you the ark, which is always the focus of any synagogue. Very decorative, it's ornate in differing ways. And within the ark, behind the curtain, in the Holy of Holies, if you like, of the temple, where only the high priest would go, are the scrolls of the Torah. Now, within those scrolls are written the first 5 books of the Bible, the 5 books of Moses, handwritten very, very carefully by a special scribe or sefer with a quill pen still to this day. And the very writing of them is a sacred duty, and if he makes a mistake, he has to start all over again. So he doesn't make a mistake, and he says the right prayers before beginning to write the scrolls. The ark is where the scrolls live, and this all dates back to the temple in Jerusalem, where there was a Holy of Holies, where the high priest only would have conducted the service. And within the ark, within that box, if you remember, carried across the desert by 4 handles, would have been the tablets that Moses brought down from Mount Sinai. And above the ark, you will see 2 models of those tablets, and you'll see Hebrew lettering upon them, the first 2 words of each of the 10 commandments. The scroll is then carried to the bima, where it is undressed. The covering is taken off it, the silver rimonim, the decorations on top of the handles, are taken off. And the scroll itself is laid and opened on the bima, ready for reading by the prayer leader. Now, the reading of the Torah is perhaps the high point of the Shabbat morning service. The 5 books of Moses recorded in the Torah are read in full throughout a whole year in a cycle. And so each Shabbat, the section is read, and the scroll has to be unrolled to the right section. And it is read in a singing sort of way. It's chanted, as it's called laning. As the rabbi or the leader is laning the Torah portion for that Shabbat, he follows it not with his finger, but with a silver pointer called a yad, or a hand, because it usually has a little hand. Not because it's sacrilegious to put a finger upon the scroll, but it protects the scroll from greasy fingers every Shabbat, every year, from rubbing out the writing. Now, most Jewish males, all Jewish males in a synagogue, will wear on their heads a small cap, a kippah. There's no great holy significance about wearing a hat. It's come to mean a respect for worship, a hat to cover the head in the presence of God, but it doesn't go back more years perhaps than the Middle Ages, and probably denotes the times when Jews were made to wear a funny hat to distinguish them as Jews. So we made a virtue of it and made a small hat out of it. And various other forms of clothing are worn by Jews depending really upon how observant they are. The simplest one is the white prayer shawl, which you'll see most male Jews wear in synagogue, which is a tasseled garment. And it derives from the words in the Shema that command us to wear tassels on our garments to remind us of God's commandments. So it's a sort of reminder, and it's put on in a particular observant way. There's a blessing written on the back of the collar of the prayer shawl, which is said as the shawl is put on, and it's worn throughout the normal Shabbat services in the synagogue. This is the menorah, or 8-branched candlestick. Really technically it's called the Hanukkah because it is lit at the time of Hanukkah, which is near Christmas. And it's 8 candle holders, excludes that one, which is the servant candle holder, in which you put the candle to light each one of the others. And Hanukkah is reminiscent of the same candlestick that was in the temple, kept permanently light. We've seen the Ner Tamid over there. And this is the Hanukkah, which was destroyed when the Romans destroyed the temple at an earlier stage. And then when the temple was retaken, it was found a remaining vial of holy oil, which had been blessed by the high priest, enough to light one candle for one day, and it lasted for 8 days, and that was a miracle. So we celebrate that at Hanukkah every year by lighting in sequence the first to the 8th candle. The first night 1 candle, second night 2 candles, each from the servant or shamash candlestick there, until the 8th night all 8 are alight.